What is going on, my friends? Have you thought or have you been thinking about switching niche right now and are not completely sure about how to do that? Well, today we're going to be talking about the strategy to effortlessly switch your coaching niche while still filling your calendar with clients consistently and bringing in a ton of people. In case we've never met before, I'm Fabi Paolini. I'm a brand strategist and I focus on helping coaches, consultants, and experts basically position themselves as premium brands by helping them upgrade their messaging, their marketing, their branding to be able to attract ready to invest leads into their business. And kind of the thing that happened is that last week I got a message from a friend saying, Fabi, I've just switched my coaching niche and I'm still trying to figure out how to do this in the most effective and profitable way. I'm still figuring it out. Can you do a training on this topic? And I was like, of course. So I sat down and I started to kind of analyze a little bit of some of the things that my most successful clients have done over the years. And I realized that the most successful clients that I've had in over 6 years right now in building my online coaching business have actually been people who have switch their coaching niche. Some of them were brand new and thought that they knew what their coaching niche was. And once we started working together, it changed. And others were people that were already in business and were like, you know what? I kind of realized that there's a different direction that I want to go. So I want to kind of cover with you guys or talk to you guys about some of the different pieces around what it takes to effortlessly switch your coaching niche and how to do this in a way that is actually effective and you're actually successful at it. So if you're watching live, give me a 1 in the comments so that I can know that you're here. And if you're watching me in replay, type #replay so that I know that you are here, whether you're watching this on Facebook, on YouTube, on my website, wherever you're at right now. All right, so that being said, let's kind of first cover or talk about what a niche is. Let's kind of go a little bit with the basics and then we'll go from there. So when we talk about a niche, hey Hannah, you're one of the people who I believe switch niche throughout our process a little bit. So anyways, okay, so when we talk about niche, what we're talking about is exactly who your audience is and what you do for them. So mostly we have kind of a little bit of an idea of who our audience might be and of how we help them and kind of some of the specific things around that. So when we talk about niche, it's really, and specifically about niching down, is about getting hyper specific around who your perfect ideal audience actually is. And how do I build a message, content, a brand, a business that speaks to the specific audience? So the first thing that I want to cover are some of the clues that might be telling you that it's time for you to shift your niche, for you to change it. Again, whether you're starting out and you're kind of thinking that you're doing one thing or you're a little bit more advanced, although the things that I'm going to say are actually going to apply to you more if you're a little bit more advanced and have enrolled clients into your business already. So there's 5 specific things we're going to talk about. Number 1, you need to change your niche if you start noticing that within your clients, there's a small amount of people that are getting results. So if you have, let's say you've had 10 clients over the years, and from the 10 clients, only 3 of those people are getting great results, that's a clue to you that you need to be shifting your coaching niche. And we'll talk about how we do it in just a second. The second clue is that you have people hire you for one thing, but then once you start working with your clients, you cover a whole other topic. I have a great story about this with one of my clients, Maddie, who came to me as a health coach, had done all the health coaching stuff, was doing health coaching, but every time she signed a client and every time she started working with her clients, all of her conversations were moving or geared around relationships. So obviously what ended up happening is that she shifted her niche to being in the relationship niche, right? Audience. And what she does is helping them with the relationship. So that's a second clue, right? A lot of the conversations that you have are geared or in a different area than what they came in for. The third thing is that you don't know how to communicate to your current niche. You're like, well, I help women or I help men or high achievers and I'm helping them do this. But when it comes time for you to sit down and write a webinar or write videos or do TikToks or write emails, you're like frozen and you have no clue about what you should be saying and you're kind of stuck in burnout a little bit and kind of just really not inspired to create as much. So that is the third one. The fourth reason why you should change your niche is that you're attracting too many people that can't afford you. So you're generating leads on a somewhat consistent basis, but the people that you talk to are like, I can't buy it. It's too much. I can't, like, sorry. Nope. I'll think about it. I'll come back later. And you're not enrolling people. Yes, it very well might be that part of the reason why you're not enrolling people is that there's something wrong with your messaging or your sales process, all of that stuff. That might be true. But also it might be true that there's something off with your niche. And then the final reason why you should maybe change your niche is that you are, there's something inside of you telling you that you need to do something different. Like, you can't really pinpoint what it is, but you're like, I don't know, but something inside of me tells me that I just need to talk to a different group of people, that I need to be doing something else, that I'm playing too small. So those are some of the clues that will tell you that you need to shift or move or change your coaching niche. So, okay. So once we've kind of defined, all right, yes, I have one of these symptoms or some of these symptoms or all of these symptoms, and I'm feeling like I need to change my niche, then the next question is, how do we do this effectively? So the first thing that you want to ask yourself is really go in to start analyzing your current audience. So analyzing specifically your clients. Again, obviously, if you've had clients, this is going to be easier than if you haven't. But if you've had clients, you want to analyze, okay, who is the person that is getting the best results right now? Again, let's say you've had 10 clients and there's 3 of those 10 clients who have had great results. Start analyzing these 3 people. What are the commonalities? What are the things that you're like, actually, you know what? These 3 people have these things in common. Maybe they're all moms, or maybe they're all single, or maybe they're executives, or maybe it's about their personality, their way of looking at things, their way of approaching their lives and their businesses in one way or another. So for example, for me, I'll tell you a little bit about my changing niche in the last few years. Before, I used to talk a lot to struggling business owners, people who were like, I'm trying to build my business and I'm really having a hard time and I'm not making any sales at all, and I'm stuck and I'm feeling like I can't move forward no matter what. And in the last couple of years, really, or year and a half maybe, we've shifted that to not speak to the people who are necessarily struggling, but the ones who have a very big vision, the ones who are like, you know, I know that I'm meant to do big things. I know that I'm meant to make a big impact with my work. I know that I'm meant to be doing amazing things, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. So the angle is a little bit different, and therefore all of my content is going to be different than if I'm speaking to the person who is really, really struggling. Hopefully that's making sense. So when I looked at my audience and I looked at my clients and thought about, okay, who are the people that were making the biggest impact or getting the best results? What I realized is that the ones that were getting the best results were the ones that were very heart driven, who were very message driven, like mission driven. These people who are like, I have this mission, I have this message, I have these things that I want to share with the world, and I need to figure out whatever it takes to get to more people, versus the people who are like, I'm so stuck. I can't do anything. I hate it. Nothing works for me. I hate everything. Nothing is working. I've invested so much money and nothing is working no matter what I do. And I just want to make money and I want clients because I want money. Does that make sense? So the ones that were getting results were more in that like self-led type of attitude versus the victim mentality where everything's happening to me. And why is this happening? I don't understand. So for me, that is one of the changes that I did when I really sat down to analyze the people that were most successful. That's kind of the things that came through. So what you want to do is really analyze, okay, within my clients, who are the people that are actually getting the best results? And the biggest question that you need to ask yourself in terms of defining your niche, and this is probably one of the most important questions that you need to ask yourself as an entrepreneur, is who is or where in their journey does a person need to be to get the best results from working with me? And where in their journey does a person need to be ready to invest to working with me right now? So we really need to answer and analyze those questions, because that's going to allow you to really understand who the perfect ideal audience is going to be and where you need to be focusing on in terms of your niche. Is this making sense so far? Give me a 2 in the comments if this is making sense so far. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that you're focusing on a niche where 2 things happen. Number 1, you're attracting the right people. Like, you're attracting the type of people who are like, let's go. Number two, the people that you enroll are getting results through the work that you're doing, right? So, I mean, ideally, 100% of the people working with you will get results. That's not always going to happen because there's always a lot of external factors involved, but the majority of the people in your program are actually thriving. And obviously, these two things need to be tied together. So when we think about shifting niche or changing our niche or focusing on a different area, we really need to understand, okay, who are these people? Who are the people who are ready to enroll? And once they enroll, who are the people that are gonna get the best results? So when you really allow yourself to understand that, it's going to allow you to express yourself in the best possible way. Because naturally, if I'm like, okay, I know who I'm speaking to, I know who my audience is, I know how to get them results, well, the content that you're going to create is going to go better than you kind of being like, well, let me just be too vague, right? So you want to really allow yourself to get much more specific in your content, because the more specific you are, the more successful you're going to be at speaking to the right people and connecting with them, right? So if we're switching niches, we need to make sure that our content is hyper specific as well, right? So I'll give you one example. I had one of my clients from a year or so ago, maybe, AK, who came to me as a wellness coach helping general people with mindfulness, like men, women, whatever, right? So her content was very general. Oh, how to be more present. Oh, how to deal with anxiety. Oh, what to do with when you're triggered with situations, right? So it was very general. And therefore, she wasn't really speaking to anybody. There's a gazillion coaches out there who are doing wellness coaching, who are helping you with anxiety, who are helping you with being more present and mindfulness and all these things. Like, there's a million versions of you out there. So naturally, for her, she was really struggling with getting people to pay attention to her and to see her as the go-to person in her niche. So when we started looking at her and her content and her life experience, what we realized is that she had been a first responder. She had been a sheriff, a police officer for a few years, and who had dealt with a lot of burnout and overwhelm and anxiety and depression, all these different things, PTSD, all these different things. So what we did is we helped her shift her message and her brand and her niche to speak to helping first responders overcome burnout, overcome all of these, again, PTSD and find inner peace. So obviously, when she started to create content, that content became much more specific, like dealing with PTSD from experiencing a robbery, I don't know, whatever, like specific content, like what happens when you're serving other people first before like putting yourself first, because this is part of the career, this is part of the job, right? So her content became much more specific, and for her it was easier for her to start creating content because she can draw from personal experience and knowledge, and therefore that content is much more authentic, much more real, much more vulnerable, and much more like it allows, like you can hear her talk and be like, oh, I like if you're a police officer or you're a firefighter or whatever it is, you can hear her talk and be like, okay, she's one of us. Like, she gets me, right? So what happened is that when she shifted her niche from being like a general, like mindfulness coach or whatever, to going specifically speaking to first responders, obviously people started to pay attention. She went viral on TikTok, essentially, is now getting consistently contacted, not only by her ideal audience, and she's completely booked out, and she's raised her prices over and over again, which is awesome, but she's even getting contacted by police departments, like the Ohio Police Department. I don't know if it's a state or whatever it is, like they're contacting her to come and give workshops to their police officers and all of so it's like going that specific allowed her to do these things. But for her, it was kind of realizing, okay, who is my audience? Like, if I were to just like bring forward my experience, my knowledge, my expertise, who is the person that's going to get the most out of this, the most results? Obviously, in her case, it was going to be first responders because she gets them. And therefore, content creation is easier, not only on like the top of funnel sort of thing, as in like her videos on TikTok or YouTube or whatever she might be doing, but also when we go a little bit deeper inside, when we talk about like, okay, her actual modules and her actual videos, their content is much more specific, and she can kind of tailor everything to talk her to her specific audience as well, right? So the first place that we want to focus on is understanding, okay, who is my audience and how do I really, or who are the people that will get the most success? And then how do I tailor all of my content to speak to these people? And sometimes it might be like I'm using that example with AK, where the difference was in, well, their general, like anybody, to now speaking to first responders. Or we could use Maddie, the one that I told you about before, where she used to be, like a health coach helping women lose weight, and then realize, well, you know what, actually what I really help people, or what help these women do, is find relationships, like attract the guy that they're gonna fall in love with, and like let go of toxic relationships and really stand for their own self-worth. So the change wasn't necessarily in the audience, because it might have been the same woman, but the change was in the result, right? Or the thing that she did with them. So we really want to understand, okay, well, now that I know who my ideal audience is and I've shifted my niche to speak to this audience, now what you need to do is gain your audience's trust. Especially if you're like, you've been around for a while, you've been maybe doing this for a few years, focusing one specific audience or one specific niche, and now you've decided to shift, or maybe you're launching new. Whatever the case is, we really need to make sure that you're building trust by showing these people that you are the expert in the field, right? So if you shifted from going from, like AK's example, from being like a mindfulness wellness coach for anybody to a mindfulness wellness coach for first responders, well, you need to show first responders that you are the go-to person for them by giving specific examples, by showing these specific people how you can specifically help them. I'll give you another example. You guys might have heard me tell this story about Gav, who is a client of mine who is a weight loss coach who used to work with men and women. And once we started working together, we realized that the people that were getting the most success from his program were actually men. So we shifted his whole message to talk to men. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just about losing weight and increasing their confidence, but it was also about their sexual performance. So therefore, a lot of the content that he puts out into the world right now speaks to that specific problem, not only weight. So therefore, he can be seen now as the authority, not only for men in losing weight, but for men who need help with their confidence, and we need help with their performance in the bedroom too. So now he's gone more specific, and therefore he's building trust with this audience. Your job now is to really build trust with your audience as you've shifted your niche and say, okay, these are my people. Well, now you need to make sure that you're building trust, that you're positioning your authority, that you're positioning your expertise. You're showing these people, I am the person that you need to go to solve this specific problem, right? So that is fundamental. And you do that by going deeper into the content that you're creating. You're creating content that is too surface level. This is probably the number one problem that people have, right? Whether you're switching niche or not, like whether you're talking to I don't care who you're talking to. This is probably one of the things that people struggle with the most. The content that you're creating is way too surface level and way too simple. And remember, I asked you guys the question, like, where in the journey does the person need to be ready to hire you? And where in the journey does the person need to be to get amazing results? The answer to that is that you need to make sure, or not the answer to that, but for you to be able to speak to that person, you need to make sure that you're creating content that speaks to that person. What I mean with that is that if you're over here creating very surface level solutions and content, like 3 tips to overcome overwhelm today. Oh, sit down, think things through, go for a walk. Like really? Are you like, that's the thing that you are telling me? Whereas if you're like, okay, how to and I'm just gonna make this up because it's not my area of expertise, but if you're like, okay, if you want to overcome burnout as a first responder, I'm making this up, what you need to do is regulate your nervous system. But because of the trauma that you experienced through your job, and because you've been putting your other people first, what's happened is that your nervous system is dysregulated, which means that when you're presented with a situation, you're triggered, and you're going into all of the explanation and the deep things that you're like, holy shit, I had never heard anybody talk about it like that. I had never heard anybody explain it like that. This makes sense to me. So you're going deeper into the explanation, and therefore, when people see you, you're building that trust. You're building that expertise. They're seeing you and they're like, okay, I can see how you can specifically help me. Whereas if you're creating content like 3 things you can do to overcome overwhelm, take a walk, it's like, Okay, great, thank you. Like, but the person that's ready to invest high ticket, the person that's going to get great results, that's not the type of content that you need to create. So what you need to figure out instead is like, what is the main theme of your content piece? And when we talk about content piece, we're talking about maybe it's a post, maybe it's a webinar, maybe it's an email, maybe it's a PDF, whatever that is. And how do you build like the like how do you prove the thing that you're trying to share, like the main idea? How do I build proof around this idea? How do I show my audience that this is the truth? And how do I build my expertise? And how do I make sure that people can see me as the expert in that field? That is literally what you need to focus on in terms of content creation, so that you can attract more of the right people and fill your calendar with clients and leads. Is that making sense to you so far? So it's not just about like, okay, well, I'm shifting my audience because I can recognize that this audience in particular is going to get more results. But then how do you position yourself as a solution to that audience? Because if you're being too vague and being like, well, now I only work with men, or now I only work with women, or now I only work with, so now instead of doing health coaching, I do relationship coaching. But great, but now you need to prove to me why you changed, why you shifted. Show me examples, show me stories, show me testimonials, show me results, show me what you know that prompted you to shift your niche. And if you shifted just because you're like, why not? Well, that's probably part of the mistake. You need to understand why you're shifting and make sure that you're doing it effectively, and that you're effectively communicating the value, or you effectively communicate the value that you're going to deliver to this audience, so that they can see you and they're like, oh my God, this is the go-to person in this area. Hopefully that's making sense. Part of all of that, or part of like really being able to succeed in that area, is also making sure that you're really doing a great job in terms of your content creation, of painting the picture of what their life could look like. But again, first question, right? Or the two questions that are most important ones. Number one, where in their journey does a person need to be ready to hire you right now? Number two, where in their journey does a person need to be to get the best results possible, right? So if we understand that, well, we also understand what are the best results possible for that specific person. And what you want to do is start painting the picture of what's possible in your content, painting the picture of the after. A lot of times people focus too much on the before. They focus too much on the problem where their audience is right now, and not enough on like, this is where you could be. So when you do these things effectively, when you're effectively changing your audience, when you're effectively proving to your audience that you're the expert in your field, in this new niche, and when you're able to articulately the irony, communicate the value, communicate the result, communicate the outcome, communicate the process, to communicate the why you, that's inevitably going to attract these people in. I've seen it happen so many times. I gave you right now 3 examples, AK, Maddie, and Gav. But like I was telling you guys before, this is probably one of the things that most often happens with my clients. They will shift their audience. They will kind of go more specific and niche down. There's a saying, the riches are in the niches, right? They will niche down and they'll start speaking to this audience, and they'll start experiencing like that level of success that they've been wanting to. And the reason why they weren't experiencing it is that the niche was too out, like it was too broad, or if it was specific, there was a disconnection between who you are as a coach and that person, who your ideal audience is. So we need to get hyper specific in your content and hyper specific in the way that you're communicating to them, to really make sure that you're attracting the right people. At the end of the day, when we're switching our niche, it's really important that you are kind of very not in like, you need to announce it, and you need to let these people know, this is the reason why I've shifted my niche, this is the reason why I'm talking to you, and this is kind of what the next steps are. You need to be very, very clear about those things, and not kind of shy away and be like, I shifted my niche, I hope nobody notices. No, you need to take a stand for your decision and take a stand for what you're doing. So hopefully all of this is making sense. And if you want our help in this process, what I want you to do is either type the word call before, or depending on where you're looking at this or watching this video, click on the button below to book the call with our team. And what we'll do is we'll look at your current niche, and we'll look at where you want to shift if you're in the process of shifting, and give you some very specific feedback on the things that you need to include include in your content, in your message, in your copy, in the way that you're showing up in order to make sure that you're attracting more of the right leads, the right people into your business and everything that you do so that you can get your calendar filled with calls. It's a short 15-minute call, but I promise you it's going to be the most valuable call you've ever experienced. So either click below or type the word call in the chat below, and I can't wait to talk to you guys soon. Let me know if this is helpful for you, if this gave you some clarity around what you need to be doing in order to shift your niche effectively and attract more clients into your business. I'll talk to you really, really soon. Ciao.